Alright, hello everyone. Here we have the Writers Hour. You're going to be talking to two writers, Waffles and Farce, and they'll be writing a quest for you. You get to ask them a load of questions, and you get to do a lot of cool stuff. You can make an NPC, or actually, I think they have a quest for you right now. So you get to see the development of a quest. So that'll be really cool. You go right, you writers.
Hello, my name is Aabicus. Hi everybody. Nice to see you all. As Blue Ink hopefully told us, today we'll be imparting upon you the method of writing in Legends of Equestria. It's a very long and intricate process involving the typing of letters. Anyway, what you see before you on the screen right now is a empty Google Doc with the template for making a quest. Also with me is Not Pigeon, or Farce. Hi Farce.
Hi. I'm not the helpful one in this equation, so,
Right.
I don't think any of us are, but...
Right, in our relationship, Farce is the brains and the brawn, and, I'm the legwork. Anyway, so, first thing we have to do is just the grunt work, quest name. So we had an idea for a quest, that involved like a bank robbery, and we thought that was cool because bank robberies are cool.
Also, multiple homicide.
Yeah, we're gonna see if we can incorporate multiple homicides somehow, but probably not.
Grand larceny, some light treason. Killing cops, the
Right.
usual.
Anyway, so first thing to do is just add all the data. The author would be Aabicus and Farce. Okay, tiers involve how relevant it is to the main storyline of everything. The answer is low or magical. Okay. There are no prerequisites. You try to avoid prerequisites when writing quests because they're annoying, and in general, we want the players to be able to do anything at any given time. Prereqs are usually only used if this quest is leading off of another one. For example, if you, rescued some girl, so she gave you a password to a treasure chest, then the next one would probably require you to have done the treasure chest test. And then the giver. Farce, you got a good name for a cashier clerk? Because I was thinking that the chick at the bank could be the one that tells you, hey, we just got robbed.
Bags Moneydale.
Sounds good. Got it. So Bags of Money is going to be our cashier, and under the key points, we basically just sum it up. Player visits the Cloudsdale National Bank. Bags of Money informs them that Pretty Colt and his gang stole all the money. Player goes to Pretty Colt's hideout. And Farce, did we decide that we were going to go with the sweet talking way or the Bruce Willis way? Or are we going to let the player choose? It's always good to not railroad the player, so we want to have... what's the difference between Cloudopolis and a copyrighted place? Nothing. That other one doesn't exist, and Cloudopolis does. So, yep. Okay, so, player either sweet talks his way past Pretty Colt. Sweet talks his way past Pretty Colt, or fights his way past Pretty Colt. Pretty Colt is going to be the leader of the little gang. Didn't we have a name for them, Farce?
The Colt 45?
Oh yeah, the Colt 45, that's what it was.
The 45 Colts?
Yeah. The 45 Colts, that was the name of it.
Pretty and the 45 Colts.
Bam. So that's what you do for
Disney
key
calls
points. Alright, so there's a very minimal amount of code involved in writing, which I use, fully aware that all of the coders are probably shaking their heads at the notion that this would even be considered code. But, you know, coding and writing are very similar in that, except one uses words and the other uses code. So,
Also, both are for nerds.
yep. Quest dialogue is where the real magic happens.
That's right.
Just a couple of cool things you can do if you have a really long name, like if loads of money. Okay. Alright, so for example, if his name was Loadza Horatio Garfield Money Esquire, and I didn't feel like writing that out every single time, you can use an alias name, which, as I'm sure most of you have figured out. Alright, Farce, you just put that person's name when you're done, and it means that every single time I just have to write the word money when I incorporate this character into dialogue and stuff like that. So you guys... there is a main quest, however, the way that you approach the main quest, in general, a lot of railroading. I'm actually a professional GM. I've run. Please zoom in or increase text size. I can do that.
Is that a professional? Like, can you be a professional GM?
I have the technology to increase the text size. I don't know, how's that, Kit Warrior?
It's too big. It hurt my eyes.
Are we rocking on this? Okay, well, I'm gonna move forward with this font size until told otherwise. Whoa. Okay. Oh, Nelly. Anyway, about the main quest. Yes, there is a main quest, and a lot of the main quests, actually most of the quests, involve starting somewhere and getting to the end. So from A to Z. However, the player is under the impression that they are choosing things along the way, and we'll be providing examples of that. So a lot of them involve the player having maybe one or two different ways to answer a question. They could either be a jerk about it, or they can be friendly about it, but either way, no matter what they do, kind of winds up in the same place. But the good news is, they won't know that because they can only pick one, and I mean, a lot of games use that. If you've ever played a game where you got to start somewhere and you get to choose a character class, but you still get to the end, then the game just gives you multiple ways to get to the end. You know, I'm yabbering. Anyway, so quests are written based on a sort of the code involved lets the computer know what chunk of dialogue to say at any given time. Start is usually the default thing to say. Alright, so will any of the quests have any headcanon themes, or will you be staying lore friendly? Well, one of the things about Legends of Equestria is that it's not particularly associated with any of the main storylines of the television show. So, the thing is that there isn't an awful lot that we have to stay connected with. Like, in kind of the same way that when you run a Dungeons and Dragons game, you are under the impression that it's going to be a world with orcs and cities, but it's not going to be the same cities from any specific Dungeons and Dragons published module or something of that nature. If that makes sense. So, lore friendly, yeah, it takes place in a world with ponies and pony cities and pony people doing pony things, but it's not, yeah, thanks Burst Fire, like that. So anyway, I was thinking money could be rather posh, because posh characters are funny, and in general, you want to give every character some sort of thing that's funny about them. Also, you'll notice...
I'm not sure about this as a opener for the quest.
Okay, what?
It seems to me that, like, it seems a little contrived that, like, you're walking into the bank after they have robbed.
Okay.
The, like, motive is that the cashier robbed people. It seems to me that it might make more sense if, say, you go to her and she kind of like, it kind of almost like offhanded, like, not necessarily like that offhandedly, but like, she tells you like, oh, we had.
So if they were more professional, like, we're sorry, sir, but you cannot withdraw money at the moment because we got it all stolen, or something of that nature?
Yeah, even if it's more like, she introduced it as like a thing that happens. She mentions, oh, the cops ain't doing their job. We got, we need some manner of rough and tumble vigilante who's not afraid to break a few laws and or necks to come in and solve our problem.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely doable. Mary Sue. Well, Apple Bloom, the concept of a Mary Sue involves a character who is unrealistically good at accomplishing things, and I suppose any main character in any video game becomes that eventually, because a lot of video games revolve around accomplishing what needs to be accomplished. And, I mean, when you can play a Pokemon game and never lose a single battle, it does kind of make you look like a Mary Sue, but I don't know if you can really attach that term to a player character, because the game does require you to get somewhere. But anyway, yeah, Farce, if you want to work on the actual dialogue, that'd be fine. I was just putting that...
I think it becomes a problem where this style of game that you're making, the player character isn't really properly a character.
And if you... Yeah. And fellas, if you're wondering why we're not having people actually, how come you don't walk in and see the bank robbery in progress? That'd be really cool. We'd love to do that. However, we do have a minor technical workaround in that ponies cannot walk around. If you see an NPC standing there, they have to remain standing there for the duration that Legends of Equestria exists on this planet. So, because of that, you can't really have fellas running around, and the reason for that is because there's one world that you will all be inhabiting, and so if you walk into the bank and you see something, and somebody else, a different player, walks into the bank 5 minutes later, they have to see the same thing again.
That's not necessarily true for every single instance in which you can see a character. There are some maps where that's doable.
That's true. There are, it's called an instance, and an instance is where kind of a little pocket universe is made just for the player. So all bets are off, anything can happen. From what I've heard, those are a little taxing. And on the coding, not the coding, on like the, just on the servers. So we try to limit them to very important things such as main character quests, and other things. Quests will involve puzzles. I've already written a couple quests that involve puzzles. I'm not sure if this one's going to involve puzzles, unless dialogue puzzles count, since non-Bruce Willis fans are going to have the option to sweet-talk their way past Pretty Colt. Okay, so we've got new dialogue for Mr. Money. We were kidding, Pinkie Pie. There's no homicide. So, that's Money's line 2. You'll notice that we don't really specify where Money is, and if you actually read this quest, you don't know where it is. This could be taking place in an ice cream factory, for all you know. Well, the reason for that is because the characters will not be moving around, so if you want to know where Mr. Money is, you would go look it up at his character sheet. And,
Farce.
Hi.
Yeah, your typing is really just...
I like a nice clacky keyboard. I'll see. Can't do this over. Well, nice. I'm not quite done with this.
okay, so once a character has said something, the player usually gets an option to... Oh. Okay. Okay, well, I'm just going to let Farce type. Usually the player gets an option to reply when somebody says something. And then you choose what one of these to jump to next. Okay, well, we're just going to let Farce roll at the moment. And that's usually Farce's forte. He's a very plow ahead and get her done writer. So, could NPCs be made to not sync with other players after a quest starts? Hmm. I mean, I'm not 100% sure what you mean. That just kind of sounds like an interest or an instance. Okay, so the player has had 3 choices of dialogue. Each one, actually, to be perfectly honest, these first 2 are going to lead to the same thing. Yeah, I mean, Farce doesn't it look like 1 and 2 will go to the same thing, even though they're just different ways of asking the same question?
Do you want me to answer Trader's question? He rephrased it.
If somebody would like to answer Tracer's question, that'd be great.
He's asking if the NPCs can be client controlled rather than server controlled. The issue with that is that the servers don't have the script content. That's all in the servers. You'd have to have the clients download all that, and that's what gets all confusing. I get where you're coming from, but that's not a very good way to go about doing it. That would just be handled in instances if you needed clients to be in a different scene state than other players.
Okay, well, I'm just going to start writing first. That's okay. So, if you ask, fine, I'll take my business elsewhere, then you would go to buy. Could Dashi repost the question, please? I'm sorry. Okay, so I'm writing what happens. We almost always try to give the player an opportunity to duck out. Maybe if they accidentally clicked on somebody and they didn't want to, or if they hear the initial statement and think, that quest doesn't sound very interesting. Will your progression through the game have effects on the NPCs? If you act like a jerk, will ponies be more afraid of you in the later dialogue options? Not generally, no. The main way that would change is like individual tree branches. You can go down individual branches, but the branches will not affect each other. Will the ponies have different emotions as you progress on a quest? I'm leaning towards no, unless it's a specific branch where you said something. Like if you say something rude, they'll say something rude back. They may even end the dialogue. However, it's not like there's a stat bar or something. It's just a given response that they'll say. The game will have a currency system. And, yep. Donkey or Google. Pita Bread, that question isn't really for the writers. That's more for concept and design. What happens when you faint? Because you don't really write that. They just fall over. They do something that we don't know.
Yeah, we could go like your, your Persona 3 route and stick some poetry on it. Some nice ruminations about the fleeting nature of life. Ponies.
Yeah. So as you can see, questing takes a little bit of time when two people are working on it. There will be gang members intros. Yeah, after you talk to the clerk. How many quests have I written so far? Well, I've probably written about 6 or 7. I'm relatively new to the project. No doubt Farce has written a lot more.
Yes. Indeed. I have.
Yep. My advice for somebody who wants to write for games is to jump on as many fan-based projects as you can to buff your resume, because what you're going to need to be able to say when they try to go in there, almost everyone writing for video games right now, all they want is somebody with experience. So if you sold all your stuff and you moved right up to San Francisco or LA and you started trying to jump in, all you're going to get are people who say, well, how many years of experience do you have? And you're not going to have any unless you've been working on fan-based games your entire time through college, and then that's 4 years of experience. You didn't get paid for it, but you have experience, and that's what's going to get you through the door. That's
it also helps if you can build a name for yourself in other industries. Like, some folks I want to write for games. That's just, I don't want to write for other things. I want to write games, and that's fine and all that. You have your ambition, your thing that you're gunning towards. But I don't think it behooves any writer to limit themselves exclusively to one genre or one medium. I think, if you write a little prose, or even you write, you write novels, you write short stories, or even you write comics, or you write a play, or even like a screenplay, and anything that you write and complete and can get out there and publish in some kind of form and have some kind of audience for is going to be a real boon in any kind of writing based job you want to get.
45 PNZ. Anyway, there's another question. Applebloom, how much different is game dialogue to a book? Well, the thing about a book is that it goes in one way, and the player doesn't control anyone. So, the only real difference to game dialogue is that the player controls one of the people, and because of that, he controls the direction of the dialogue. So, when you have, like in a book, the player, somebody would walk into a bank and talk to the cashier, and the character would have a pre-established personality. Would they be rude to the cashier because, they're the main character of a hard-boiled detective novel, or would they be really friendly because they're the main character of a kid's animated television show? I don't know. Whatever they do, they'd talk to the cashier, and that's kind of how the story would go. But the author would make sure that that all the information still got out. So they either they talk like this, or they'd be like, oh no, what happened, mister? And you'd still find out that the bank got robbed. So in this game, you can choose. This dialogue option up here is rather friendly, and if the player wants to be friendly, he can do that. If the player's a jerk, he can pick that. And if the player doesn't even want to partake, he can pick that. And in that way, you'll notice that when you're a jerk, he's kind of being a jerk back to you. This one, he'll be a lot more friendly. Choose Your Own Adventure books are relatively similar. However, the thing about a Choose Your Own Adventure book, they can't waste new dialogue branches on such little things like that. I mean, when you think of your average Choose Your Own Adventure book, usually every few pages of your show you get a choice to make. And those choices are not usually as petty as, are you friendly to the cashier? They're usually more of, do you go left or do you go right? Or would you rather face the tiger cage, or would you rather face the bridge over the bottomless pit? You know what I mean? They're questions where the decision you make will actually make a big deal. There are very few Choose Your Own Adventures where options A and B will take you to the same place, except near the beginning of the book. By beginning, I mean, like, story-wise, chronologically, usually page 2 and page 3 are light years apart. But does that make sense? In Choose Your Own Adventures, the decisions are a lot more major. In this one, we're making very small decisions. Yep. Farce, I was also thinking we could show them how we write NPC pages, but I did not pre-prepare one. Would you be capable of making a Word document or a Google document with the NPC template for us to edit? And then
yeah, sure.
Yeah, and then linking it to us somehow. So this is pretty much everything you need to know about writing a quest. This quest has barely gotten started, but it would go a long way. I guess just a couple other pieces of code that would be nice to know. Go to end is what you write when the dialogue is over. Not the entire thing, just that one. You'll notice that bye was the I'm cutting this quest in the bud before it even starts. So if you're gonna do that, you're gone. Oh, we're gonna write a lot more than that for every single NPC. What? Just wait until we show you everything that goes into every single NPC you'll be seeing in this game. Anyway, a couple other pieces of code, they're good to know. If you want to add a comment where, if you want to make a comment that the player won't see but kind of informs the coders of what's going on. So this is...
Guys, I'm leaving. I need to close the call.
Okay, so that's what you'd write if you wanted to have sort of a qualifier. Anyway, Raven Pony said something cool. As a fellow writer, I'm storyboarding a fan game. The problem is, I have to take a bland character action.
We need
place.
to rehost the call.
Yeah, I need to close the call. I'm hosting the
Someone
call
needs to
and I'm
rehost.
leaving. I need to someone to rehost it.
Okay. I guess
So who's hosting?
we'll see y'all in a few minutes.
Well, who's hosting?
Ooh.
Who's gonna host the call?
Sarah, are you going to host it?
Is she there?
I don't think she is.
There are
Should
people
I host
here who
it?
aren't actually here. Well, there's only 4 of us here right now. You're gonna have to.
Okay, I can host the call.
You can temporarily host it and then just rehost it again in a little bit or something.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So all right. So just call group when you.
Okay.
Okay.
Hasta luego. Hasta luego. Hasta luego.
There. Oh, blue ink is there. Okay. You should probably hide Skype as soon as you can. Oh no. Waffles, you should,
No,
yeah,
he's
step
telling
away.
me to host a call, but I'm in a call that he's hosting right now.
Wait, first of all, I'm not live, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, we are. You're still on live stream, yeah.
So they can see my screen.
Yeah, they can see your
Probably,
screen.
yeah.
Okay.
Now is not the time for porn, Waffles.
Well, I was actually gonna crank up an NPC sheet, though I guess.
Guys, they can
can
still
hear
hear us. Why'd you say that?
Oh, they
They
can
can
still
hear
hear
us.
us. Well, then
They
what
can-
are we? Are we back?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet. Hey, everyone, we're back. Okay, cool. So,
We've been back. Yeah,
I
Pigeon,
just,
don't do that
I
again.
just set up an NPC sheet and shot you an email.
okay, great, Farce. Well, I'm glad I didn't log into my Google Docs. Okay, well, we're sorry for the dead time. I guess we'll just jump right back on what we were doing. Just a couple other cool pieces of things to know if you want something to happen. This is how you add a comment, and this is how you add something to the player's inventory. That's pretty much all you'd ever need to know. Bye, Shadowheart. So, thank you, Raven. As a fellow writer, I'm storyboarding another fan game. The problem is I have to take a bland character action place and put dialogue and such in there. So, are you asking about the code, or are you asking about how to take something boring and make it more interesting? Okay, so if you've got something boring, for example, when we originally wrote the cashier, we could have just put something like, "Hello, may I help you?" and that like as if their job is to be a cashier. A really good way to make things interesting is to give them just a bit more of a personality. A very lazy way to do this is to pick an adjective and have everything they do operate off of that adjective. So if you're going to give the character sarcastic as a job, then like every time you talk to the cashier, they'll be like, "Oh, look, somebody really important needs to deposit their money. Well, let me just drop everything and do that for you." Or if their adjective was, I don't know, conceited, be like, "Oh, hello. I guess I've got maybe 5 minutes for you, but please make it quick." Something of that nature. And in that way, you can just, I mean, you don't want to do this for main characters. Main characters should be a little more multifaceted than that. But that's for characters like a cashier. We ain't going to see this guy again, except at the end where he gives us our reward. How do you color code the words in the chat so it's not always black? I don't know. The problem is, the way I have it set up, it doesn't leave much room for adding everything. Well, I mean, does it have dialogue at all? Because everything I'm just saying involves making the dialogue cool, but if you don't have dialogue... well, okay, so if you have dialogue, that's really all you need. Just write the dialogue from a certain personality.
Just let you know you're coming up on a bit past halfway, so.
Yeah. I had music playing in the background that I can't go look at. Sorry.
Waffles, I'm gonna counteract Thingy by suggestion here and say, let's take a break from pony music.
Yeah,
Also,
but
I don't
I
actually have audio from the stream, so I don't know what music is on now, or if there is any.
I just had a YouTube video that was an hour long that said an hour of pony music.
Oh, there you go.
Pigeon, just so you know, when you're typing and not talking, please mute your mic on Skype. We can't hear Waffles when he's talking and you're typing. It sounds like an earthquake.
Oh, right. That is...
Yeah, just hit mute. Just hit mute on Skype when you're not talking. That's all.
Hi underscore
I don't know how to
waffles.
do that. I just didn't occur to me.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, Doctor's Assistant, I don't know if NPCs that move are allowed, because, you know, that's not allowed. It is allowed for instances, but in general, one thing that I try to do when I write is to demand as little of the server as possible. So there are some writers who try to squeeze every drop of whatever can be accomplished, and there's some of us that like to write around limitations, and both are great because the ones that are more that have crazy stuff happening, well, that crazy stuff gets in the game. But I always enjoy trying to write a quest in such a way that I don't need to ask any of the programmers to stick their neck out for me. Like, instead of saying, hey, programmers, I want to make a hut in the middle of the desert that the player goes and visits, and there's like a hermit there, and instead, I think, well, maybe there's a valid reason that you meet the hermit in town, and he just explains that he lives in a hut in the middle of nowhere. And that way, you don't have to. That way, the concept and design team, the 3D modelers, don't have to go out and make a hut just for one quest. I've already written a quest that involves a hermit.
And content-wise, kind of approach that question from the other angle. We try to keep a tone that is more or less in line with what you would see on the show. Sometimes we get a little more, kind of by the nature of video games, or at least, how we sort of understand video games and the style of video game that we're making here. There's kind of inherently more violent conflict than you would find in any given episode of My Little Pony, because, of course, but it is, we try to keep it in such a way, and try to keep the tone of it in such a way that, it never feels like outside the realm of a Saturday morning cartoon. We're not here to give I've joked about this a couple of times already, but we're not trying to give you deep, meaningful ruminations on the nature of humanity, or some kind of grand metaphysical philosophical question that you need to pose yourself. We are making a game about magical talking ponies in the land of magical talking ponies who have magical talking pony adventures. And I think it's important
you keep going.
to keep that in mind, just so you don't end up making a fool of yourself.
Okay. Gen Z, a player with an incredibly short attention span can go on an unlimited amount of quests so long as they never feel like completing any. From what I know, there's no limit to that amount. You just if you want to talk to every single person, accept every quest, and not do them, knock on. The combat system, we are not qualified to answer that question. Sorry. The combat system is definitely concept and design and programmers. In general, if we're going to write a quest, we put something of the nature, the combat system begins. If the player wins the combat system, because we're not sure what it's going to be like yet. And by we, I mean us writers. I'm sure other people are more qualified to answer that question. The most violence I've put in a quest. In general, if a quest is going to involve something violent happening, I don't involve the player. I don't really write combat quests. My quests usually involve talking to people, solving mysteries. So usually if I have dialogue, or if I have violence, characters are referring to it, but the player did not actually witness it. I did write a quest involving an exploding arcade machine, and I guess that's probably the most violent thing that happened in a quest of my writing. Anyway, Farce, how's that NPC sheet going?
I've written some quests that involve, some kind of conflict there. There's not too much we can, I don't want to give away what the quests are about, but, for example, there is a quest that's kind of centered around sort of a big old boss battle with.
Mm-hmm. But there will be combat questing, Wraith and Pony. We have writers who love combat, and there's been a lot of those. It's just not my cup of tea. That's an interesting question, Doctor's Assistant. As you know, we are currently writing a quest in Cloudopolis. Ooh, that might have been what that person a long time ago was referencing. Thank you. Dang, isn't it nice how that always said Cloudopolis? I know, right? Loving that Cloudopolis city shuffle.
Cloud Police.
Man, that Cloudopolis city shuffle. And that Cloudopolis National Bank. Yeah.
I still think we should go with, like, First National Cloud Bank.
Ooh, that's a good one. Let's go with that. Anyway, we got 20 minutes, Farce, and I want to show him an NPC sheet because there's some cool stuff there. Did you finish one? Not as in write it, just have it blank. Not as in write it, just have it blank.
Yeah, there should be a link in the Skype chat for you.
A link? Yeah, I can't view the Skype chat. Could you paste it into the Cloudopolis City Shuffle?
Sure. So, on the bottom there.
Yeah. Hello. Okay, cool. So this is a blank NPC sheet, and we write. Oh yes.
I type that in. You won't be able to see it. We know how you work. Chat.
So, Bloomberg is the esteemed writing leader, and our esteemed writing leader likes well-designed NPCs. So, he requires that we complete a sheet like the one you see right now. I was thinking we could. Should we write it for Pretty Colt, since he was the more interesting character of the quest? Farce.
Sure.
Okay. Anyway, Bloomberg demands that we write a character sheet. This well designed. This bit is more for the 3D artists and the concept artists to know what our character looks like. This bit right here is, remember we didn't specify where money was? Well, that's right here. They'd look and figure out where money was based on the NPC sheet. And personality. Every single NPC in the game will have a cutie mark story, and you're going to have a button you can click on when you see them, and they will tell you how they got their cutie mark. And I'm talking every single NPC. Every single one. So that bank cashier, you could figure out what his cutie mark story was. Anyone, and you know how when you normally play an NPC, or when you normally play a video game, and you go into, like, you're playing Pokemon, and you walk into Saffron City, and you talk to some guy, and the guy's only line of dialogue is, "You should go buy potions at the potion shop," or something like that. We don't have those guys, because every one of those guys has all of this. You'll know where he got his cutie mark. You'll have 10 lines of dialogue to hear from. We do not have little dudes whose only job is to inform you of the, plot point happening in the city. So that is something pretty cool. You'll be able to hear all of it. And we are not. Oh yes, Farce.
Never mind.
Okay, we are not allowed to skive on this. We must have 10 lines of dialogue, a cutie mark story, for every single character, and that is it's going to make the world a lot fleshed out, I think, because instead of just people sitting there being stupid, and they might have lines like "go buy potions at the potion shop," but that'll only be one of their lines, and they'll have other things that they're doing, because they work as a guard at town hall and they're off duty right now. And you'll just learn about that stuff. I can assume that if he makes the final game, the red pony at the bridge in Ponyville will have all that too. Maybe he'll be a fisher or something, and not one with 6 magic carp.
Maybe he'll just be a dumb medic.
Anyway, so... Oh boy. Here we go, working on coat color, main color, tail color. We're kidding, Princess Amanita. You'll be hard-pressed to find a talkable character whose species is not pony, but I guess they might exist someday.
We have some of those.
Mm-hmm. We can't answer questions about voice acting. We aren't sure. Again, we just write them. We don't. We're
They don't
not. We're
tell
not
us
sure.
anything. They just kind of lock us in a room and say, "Hey, turn out some quests." And we're like, "But we don't know like how this works." And be like, "There's so many things that would factor into how we're." And they're just like, "No, write a quest."
Yeah.
Bloomberg is a harsh and cruel tree leader. Don't tell him I told you that.
Yeah. Don't worry. We won't tell anyone.
I'm gonna tell him.
No. Oh no.
Yeah, you've always been a snitch.
It's true.
Yeah, so if you're hoping to hear every single line of dialogue in Legends of Equestria, that's going to be a pretty tall order. It might even be, like, an impossible order considering that quests will involve choosing lines of dialogue that go to the same place.
Full voice acting, while a nice sort of aesthetic touch, is also a pretty major constraint on sort of the kind of a traditional RPG style of game, because it means that you're locked into dialogue relative fairly, you're that record what you have to work with. It also means that you have sort of a budget and time crunch on the actual, and just size as well, but on the actual amount of dialogue you have.
What cutie mark were you thinking for Pretty Floyd Colt?
Something that evokes a revolver without getting us in trouble with the censors.
Yeah. Well, he's also kind of a revolutionary in a way. A mustache. To be honest, I've been reserving mustache cutie marks for dashing generals. Mm-hmm.
What if he had a fist pointed defiantly skyward?
See, I was thinking of a fist pointing skyward, but unfortunately they don't have fists.
Claw.
Anarchy symbol. Spray painted on
On this
its flank.
point sense. No, that's
Yeah, I'm not sure why I'm echoing. Maybe my hardware just sucks or something.
painted a symbol on himself instead. That actually is his cutie mark. He only got it after he painted it, but he never realized.
He has his cutie mark and spray painted cutie marks on his.
What if his cutie mark is spray paint?
That'd be pretty cool.
Although, if we go with that angle, he suddenly becomes less old-timey monster and more DJ Professor K.
I mean, an obvious cutie mark would simply be gold coins.
What's the hoof equivalent of this glove?
Yeah, Raven Pony, we just kind of gloss over all that. I mean, really, why? What sort of quest would require you to talk about how the sun or the moon come up? So because you can run a lot of quests that don't even get into that, we don't have to get into that, so we don't. I mean, like what? Nothing. You can't visit the moon or the sun, and you can just mention that I plan. You know, some NPC could be like, I'm gonna make out of this town as soon as the sun comes up, and there you go. The sun came up, and you don't have to know how it came up. It just kind of did.
What? One of his cheating arcs is some kind of like prison or like prisoner type imagery, like a striped suit or a bars. Why did the cheating arc is a fedora?
Rainbow Factory Dashi, you would have to specify. If you mean major villains from the show, no. Will we be creating one? Yes. So, I mean, technically the answer to both of those questions is yes, but I can't tell if you're... Because, I mean, they're just the same question, unless the first one was supposed to imply canon, which no. Well, yeah, I mean, how many quests would it require the main character to grab the elements of harmony? Like, none. You don't need... You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Really, when you get down to it, what do the main characters do? They have a job somewhere, a job that could be easily given to an NPC, and they own the elements of harmony, which the main characters of Legends of Equestria are never going to need. So it's very easy to write without the main characters because, you know what I mean? This isn't the Justice League where we're trying to write superheroes and everyone's wondering why the real superheroes aren't there. The main characters of My Little Pony are just ponies in another city just being there, so we can just not have them there. It's really easy.
We pretty deliberately wrote the story so that even though like you thought you're sort of sweeping adventure and high stakes and all, it never quite like we kind of try to keep in mind that it should make sense that your characters are the one dealing with this and not like like it kind of. We felt that it was important that it makes some amount of sense that the conflict you're dealing with is something that your characters are dealing with and not, Twilight Sparkle and company.
Yeah. Well, I can't speak for the main quest. I do know that none of the side quests are going to involve saving the universe, from imminent destruction, or anything that could possibly require these quests. I mean, if you've played World of Warcraft, you don't save the universe from destruction that often, I don't think. You usually just help somebody with a very minor problem, and then they reward you.
That's mostly true of the main quest as well. It's going to get a little, larger scale, but never anything like universe altering.
Mm-hmm. Though I do feel need to note that we are trying to avoid, and I've never written one, I'm under the impression nobody else has, we do not have quests that are composed of, please go out and faint 5 of these creatures, you know what I mean? Could you go out and grab 7 rabbits for me and bring them back? We know about that cliche, and I'm under the impression that none of us are writing those. I certainly aren't. I'm not. In-game currency. Well, all I know is that it's bits, and you can earn them. I don't actually know the exchange rate or how much they're worth. Whether it's like Pokemon, where everything is in sets of 100, or if it's like Monopoly, where everything is in sets of 1. So in general, when I write a quest that involves money, I usually just put a number and say whatever. And the assumption is, if because I had a quest where you helped out a lawyer. And the lawyer gave you money at the end. Thanks, lawyer. And I just put 5,000 bits. I don't know what that is. And if 5,000 bits is a ludicrous amount of money, well, somebody in editing will notice and go, hey, we don't want the player to turn into Persecute Money Pony from day one just because they did this quest. And they'll downgrade it to 50 bits if that's a more reasonable number. They can do that. Their editing's their job. So in general, when it comes to money, I write down a number. I don't care about the number, and I wait for somebody else to fix it, because that is, again, something that concept and design is working for.
But do you keep it proportional between your quests?
Within a specific quest,
although-
yeah.
I am happy to be able to announce our second currency, the venerable Sun Coin, which can be earned in small amounts through gameplay, or
Don't
if you
listen
want to
to
pitch
him.
us
Just
fat
stop.
coin, you know.
What's he talking
No,
about?
I'm kidding. We're not doing
Farce
that.
is
Sorry.
being a farce.
Oh.
That's what he does.
There are no in-app purchases in this game. to
I'm
my
under the
knowledge.
impression that if you take out random enemies, they will not drop money. I don't know that for sure, because I don't write combat quests.
And all of that isn't really on our end. That's all concept and design stuff.
Yeah,
Well, I mean,
that's also not
technically
really.
concept and design, but that's design stuff. We're concept, design is design.
Yeah. Yeah, most NPCs you see in the game started with us, and then other people took them and gave them images and gave them 3D models and stuck them in the game, and then other writers grabbed them and reused them. We try to reuse we try to reuse the same characters, not to an outrageous extent, but on one hand, we don't want to make it where every single character does one thing because one writer wrote them. For example, when I had to write a quest, what is it, Applewood at this point, I think it's called? When I had to write a quest for that, I looked and I said, so do we have a sheriff already? And we did, so great. Yahoo. So I just reused him. There's buyable content, at least from what I'm aware. You gotta do something with all this money. Oh wait, do you mean with real world money? No, there is not. In-game money, yeah, there's stores to buy things from. I speak fully aware that that's not really my department, but you know.
Kind of obvious, goes without saying.
What is this buying things? I don't think so. No. Of course you could buy things.
If by boss system you mean a bigger dude to fight than all the other ones, I guess. I'm not sure, Alpha Slime. You can give items to NPCs, and NPCs can give items to you. That happens in quests a lot.
Hi guys, I'm Rick Stonewood, founder and CEO of Legends of Equestria Riders. I love their quest so much I bought the company. I'm going to hand this back over to Blue Ink now. I think our time is right about up here, and let's hear what's coming on next.